All right, I wanted to try if I hold the microphone, will it be better? Probably not. All right, today this is gonna be while I work, do other work. This is gonna be a 2-for-1 vlog. Well, it's really 2-for-2, but 2-for-1 from me because I'm gonna do one and then I'm gonna do the other one like immediately afterward. So today I want to talk about, excuse me, things I love in the board game space. Either the games themselves or like all of it, I guess. Okay, so I wanted to start with I have a transformer in my pocket because my son gave me a transformer. And I was like, what is Pokemon? That's what it is. So we'll start small. The things that I love in this space is actually some of these games because growing up, I used to play video games like constantly, right? Like all the time. And they're fun, they're enjoyable. I enjoy doing them and whatnot. But over time, it's like, okay, I don't want to be staring at a screen all the time, right? I'd rather be doing something else. Really just like getting off my phones. And for my work, I stare at a computer screen the whole time. So trying to get rid of that stuff, right? Trying to like stop doing all that has been really nice. And that's one of the things that the board game space really allows is that, okay, you can turn off your electronics and you can just focus on the task at hand. And also, you have to focus a lot, right? I feel like that's not really talked about. Like the mental acuity, um, the what you have to like think through and process. Especially, I mean, solo games, but multiplayer too, right? Of just like, or maybe more so multiplayer and less solo, but whatever. Is like not only think about your turn and the future turns of your turn, but your opponent's turn and their future possible turns, and like the amount of like bandwidth that go through and like think about it. Is like pretty crazy, right? Like it's pretty crazy. So I really like that part of it. I think that is really cool and really exciting and really neat. Um, so yeah, I think that's good. Some of the games that have come out are just like they're just really fun, right? Like I feel like whenever I talk to people about the board game hobby, and they're like, yeah, like Monopoly's not bad or Life's not that bad, but like, are these games like really fun? And it's like, nah, you don't understand, bro. Like they are. They can be really fun. They can be really fascinating, really interesting, something really different than you may expect. Um, and I feel like a lot of people don't give it a fair chance and like don't understand. But like once they do, they understand. Or they think of like Magic the Gathering, right? Which is their only exposure to the modern day hobby, which I'm not gonna bash on Magic the Gathering. I played Magic the Gathering a lot as a kid. But I feel like people see that and they're like, oh, it's really expensive. And because it's really expensive, like it's bad or something. And like it can be really expensive, sure. And I know like board gamers like to sit there and look down on the TCG crowd. So like, oh, well, they spend all this money. I've seen some board gamers spend some serious money on Kickstarters that they never play. So, we all have our thing. The worst part's when you're both. Uh, so it's really like once people like get into it, once people like understand like what the hobby's about and whatever, I feel like they get into it and they enjoy that part, the same things I've just explained. Getting off your phone, being with others, right? I didn't explain that. Being with friends and being with others, and just like the mental bandwidth of like really having to think things through and like think about things. I think a lot of people really enjoy that, which is really cool. And if you expand outward, um, sometimes this space opens up friendship pathways, right? Where if you went to a board game store and partook in whatever night, like they play board games, they play card games, whatever it may be. Well, now all of a sudden, like now you have that group of friends, and you could do things with them and whatever. I have I guess it's a cousin, um, super socially awkward cousin, like never could find his place in life. Smart kid, very smart kid, but just like socially awkward, right? Never like had the skills, never really honed the skills to be sociable. Um, but 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I don't know. He's always liked Pokemon as a video game, but like 6 or 7 years ago, maybe it was a little longer than that. He started really getting into Pokemon cards, and then he got first collecting, and then he got into playing the Pokemon cards. Excuse me. And with that, he started playing and getting better and thinking because he was a smart kid, just didn't have the social skills. And now he's ranked in the top 20 in the world or something crazy, or top 30, and like goes to all these tournaments around the world and does all this stuff. And that has opened up an avenue for him to see the world, interact with people he wouldn't interact with. And you already have like a base thing you like, right? Like, they like Pokemon, you like Pokemon, so like let's talk about Pokemon or whatever. So he's already got a thing to like help social standing and help social abilities of learning to talk to people and whatever. So he's got that, right? Like, it has opened up huge avenues and pathways in his life. And that's really cool and really good, I think. I know for me personally, we have a group of friends that play board games, so it allows us to like, do something different with them than just like kind of sit around and eat and drink, I guess. I mean, I guess that happens too, but something else happens as well. So with our group of friends, we get to do that. And for Novels and I, it's something that we get to do and be passionate about, which is fun. And it's hopefully something all of our children will get into as well. And then you expand the board game night, and that becomes like a bigger and better, more interesting thing overall as well, which is pretty cool, I think, to like get your kids involved in something that is mostly a good thing, right? The downsides being it's expensive, but generally speaking, I think board games are inherently a good thing, and getting those kids involved in whatever, like, that will come with the territory, which is really cool. And if we get other friends to come in and do the thing as well, then that works out pretty well too. So that's been really good. As far as like being a content creator, like, obviously there's been monetary benefit to it, but past that, like, I've been able to meet and interact with like really cool people in this space. Either just normal people, right? Like just everyday you watching this. If I've met you and I didn't run away, I didn't run away screaming, then I thought you were pretty cool, I guess. So it's there's always fascinating people in any industry, and it's no different in this one as well. So like the other people that play board games and getting to meet them and hang out with them is cool. Going to conventions, right? I have to go to conventions for work, and I don't always love it, but going for fun is a little different. But being able to hang out with people and just you have you have one thing you all already like with board games, and now it could be so many other things, and getting to know people on that level. It's really, really cool. And I've been able to interview people and just meet people in the industry that I think have really fascinating ways of approaching things. And it's cool to watch an industry which is really in its infancy, as far as a lot of things go, to grow and watch it go through its growing pains, which I know sounds like a bad thing, but all these things need to be, like, they need to be figured out. And this is how any industry learns, is by doing, generally speaking. So to watch the industry grow, I think has been pretty cool and pretty exciting. And then I love that, the hobby, generally speaking, is pretty healthy. I mean, there's new games coming out all the time, and with cool mechanics or cool themes or just emotional games, right? Like, I've talked about this a lot in the live streams, that this War of Mine is a game I'm super excited for, because I think the theme of it is really fascinating. I think the storytelling is really fascinating. I think it's really amazing, and you can have this deep, dark story, and then 10 minutes after I finish that game, I can play a game where superheroes punch each other, right, with Marvel champions, or not each other. They punch the villains, I guess. So you can have like this whole theme shift of things, and the way that they act is completely different. That's another cool thing in the space, is just how different games can be. Like you don't know until you know, type of thing. That, like, okay, you have worker placement, you have tableau builders, you have engine builders, you have multi-use cards, right? You have all these different things, all these mechanics, and I'm not even touching on most of them. And it's like you just wouldn't know until you know. Right? Like, it's fascinating, and it's really, really cool. And I think the other thing that's cool too, I will say, one of the last things, is that party games are starting to get more socially acceptable in the board game space, which I think is good, right? Party games have always been popular with like the normies. I don't know what you would call them, but just like the normal group of people, right? You go to Target, you go to Barnes and Noble, you go whatever, you see all these party games. And I know a lot of board gamers are kind of snobbish toward it. They're like, oh, I don't play party games. And like I was like that too, so I'm not judging. But yeah, people would do that all the time. And now I feel like it's getting more acceptable to play party games because we realize correctly that it's basically a gateway drug. And as terrible as that sounds, but party games are like, hey, you really enjoy playing this and the social interaction. Let's make it a little more interesting, right? Let's do a little bit something extra, and it gets people into that like next phase, which I think is really cool and really fascinating. So I'm happy that the community has embraced party games or lighter weight games or light mid games or whatever you want to call them, because for a while a little before the pandemic probably it felt like this entire hobby was like, no, we want heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier, like Vital or Serta should be the lightest thing we ever play, and it feels like we got past that point. And like I still want those games to exist, I'm not saying I don't, but I'm just saying like there should be options right? Ease people up to that Vital or Serta or whomever, right? David Churchy, hopefully I'm saying his name right, type of game, because they absolutely have a place, but you got to work people up to it, right? You can't start them off with it. So, anyway, that's just a handful of things I love in this industry. Let me know. Let me know if there are things that you love in this industry and really like about it. Because I'll be fascinated. Read that, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. See you next time.